My name is Matt. I'm a biologist educator working for Zoo New England. And today I'm talking to you from Dawson Pond at the Arnold Arboretum of Harvard University in Boston. So at Zoo New England, we're really excited to be collaborating with Arnold Arboretum, and we're doing research on the populations of turtles that are using the different ponds here at the Arboretum. This is a really interesting turtle research because the Arboretum is totally by the city of Boston. So this little turtle population is isolated from other turtles, and they're surrounded by lots of noise and construction and possibly pollution, but there's still a really healthy population of turtles here. During our time trapping turtles in these ponds, we've caught more than 20 different painted turtles. We've caught a dozen different individual snapping turtles, and we've even caught some red-eared sliders, which are an introduced species in Massachusetts that you usually only find in the wild after people buy them as pets and then release them when they can't take care of them anymore. So there's an amazing variety of turtles that are using these ponds, and with some of our biggest snapping turtles, we've actually put radio trackers on their backs. So those are just little tiny radios that broadcast a signal, and then we walk around with antennas, radio antennas and receivers tracking that signal so we can see where the turtles are moving on the landscape. So we already know 2 of the turtles that we've caught in this pond are still out there in the middle of the pond right now, but another one has moved all the way across the Arboretum to the entrance, to a wet meadow that's over there, which is really interesting because before this, we had a sense that the turtles were moving around, but we really didn't know where they were going or how much they were moving. So we've got a treat for you all today, which is we don't have any of the huge adult snapping turtles, but we did catch these 2 little guys, so hopefully you can see them all right. These 2 are snapping turtles that were just hatched this summer. I would say these 2 are probably not even 2 weeks old yet. They're really tiny, but they're super cute. This is about as small as a snapping turtle gets. And of course, when they're fully grown, they can be up to 30 pounds or more with a shell that's 1.5 feet long. They will get really big someday if they're lucky, but for now they're just like little tiny guys. Their shells are still kind of soft and flexible. You can see this one wants to crawl out of my hand. But they're really amazing turtles. So we got another one too, which I'm gonna get to show you right now. This turtle, which we caught crossing the road, fortunately we were able to get him out of the road before he got hurt, is probably a year or 2 old. Here's one of the new hatchlings. What a difference a year makes, right? So you can see this one is already developing sort of that typical snapping turtle shell with these 3 hard ridges on the top and all of these saw teeth along the bottom. You can see they've got really strong claws, which they can use for digging in the mud and for climbing and crawling around. And you can see they're what we call their plastron, their belly shell. It's that little black diamond on its stomach. It's much smaller than the back shell, than what we call the carapace. So some turtles have big flat shells to protect their bellies, but snapping turtles spend all their time sitting on the mud on the bottom of the water. So they let the pond bottom do the job of protecting their belly. And if something tries to flip them over, then they'll use their beak and their claws to fight them off. So having a smaller plastron, a smaller belly shell, gives them a lot more flexibility. It helps them walk faster and swim better because they've got more freedom of movement with their arms and their legs. So these are just a few of the little snapping turtles that we've got. The biggest snapping turtle we've caught here this year was 28 pounds. He was a huge male, probably more than 30 years old. Snapping turtles, like most turtles, can live quite a long time if the conditions are good. And if these turtles are lucky, then hopefully they'll survive to be big, strong adults someday. But since we're catching them and marking them, we'll be able to come back in future years, see whether these turtles are still in this pond, maybe they move somewhere else. And since we've got notches on the backs of their shells, we'll be able to identify them if we catch them again. And in the spring, we've got radios on some of the adult females, and if they lay eggs and have more little babies like these, we'll be able to protect those babies and maybe bring them into some Boston schools for education programs. We had a lot of success last year with the Boston public school system, raising Boston hatch snapping turtles and learning about native wildlife. So I'm told that we can take some questions. That's sort of my quick overview of the project, but I'm happy to take any questions you all might have. So feel free to drop them in the chat.
Do the babies snap this young?
Do the babies snap? So do we have a question about whether the babies will snap when they're this young?
Sharon asked, do babies snap this young?
Yeah, they can snap it a little bit. Like they've still got some of that instinct to bite if you try and get them, but they're a lot less aggressive than the adults are. And even if they snap, they really can't hurt you at this size. When they get to this size, they might be able to give you a cut, and they can snap at this size, but they're a lot less aggressive than the adults are. It's not until they really reach the teenage years that they start being real snappy.
What should you do if you ever see a turtle on land?
So we have a question, what should you do if you ever see a turtle on land? The answer is usually leave it alone. There are lots of reasons that turtles might be on land. Some of them just come on land when they need to move to a new wetland. Maybe their old wetland dried up or there's not enough food. Some of them come up onto land to nest and lay their eggs. And if that happens, if you go over to them, if you mess with them, it might spook them and they might not lay their eggs. So generally, you should always leave wildlife alone. The one exception is if the turtle is in a dangerous place. So if you find a turtle in the middle of the road or on a public path, somewhere where you think it could get stepped on or it could hurt somebody if it's a big turtle, if you can safely do so, you want to move that turtle off the road or off the path in the direction it's already facing, right? The turtle knows where it wants to go. If you move it back the way it came from, then as soon as you leave, it's just going to turn itself back around and try and cross again. So just bring the turtle across the road or the path in the direction it was already facing, and let it go on its way.
Did you mention how to hold them? Someone's asking if it's safe to help them cross the road.
Is it safe to help the turtles cross the road? So for most of our native turtles, it's no problem. Snapping turtles, when they get big, can be pretty dangerous. So I'm going to teach you the safe way to hold a snapping turtle. I'm just put the little one back for this. So they might not look like it, but snapping turtles have really long necks. And those necks can reach, you see this one's gaping, that's a threat. He's telling me he's ready to bite me if I get my hands close to his head. They can reach halfway back the length of their shells to bite. So you always want to hold them from the back, like this. You can grab the back of their shell. You need to be prepared because the big ones will kick. But you can use your fingers to control their legs like I'm doing here. So you want to get your fingers in between their shell and their legs. That'll keep their legs under your hands. You hold the back of the shell. This way you've got control of the turtle, you've got control of its legs, and it can't reach back to bite you. So if you feel comfortable doing it, that's how you can safely hold a snapping turtle and help it across the road.
Kevin asks, how big does a snapping turtle get?
Yeah, so the biggest snapping turtles, this is a common snapping turtle. There are also alligator snapping turtles that you find in the southeast US. But these common snapping turtles, they can get really big. Like I said, the biggest one we caught here was 28 pounds. His shell was about 1.5 feet long. They can get even bigger than that. They can get over 30 pounds. Their shells can probably get up to the 2-foot range. That'd be a really huge snapping turtle. That'd be as huge as they get and very rare. But yeah, those turtles are not to be messed with.
Okay. Any other questions? Emily, how are we doing for time? You want to talk about how many turtles you found so far here?
Yeah. So here in the Arboretum so far, we've found almost 50 unique individual turtles. Those turtles are probably sharing just this pond. Maybe some of them went over to the meadow where we know one of our adult snappers is. But yeah, of those, more than 20 of them are painted turtles. Painted turtles are probably the most common turtle in Massachusetts. You see them a lot sitting on logs and rocks. They'll live in streams or ponds or swamps, pretty much anywhere there's water. We caught 21 of those. We caught 12 snapping turtles across various ages. 7 of those were adults or very nearly grown adults. 5 of those were young ones, either this size, some a little bigger, some little hatchlings like the 2 I just showed you. And we caught 5 sliders. So those are the ones that were people's pets before they decided to just release them because they couldn't take care of them anymore. Turtles are a long-term commitment. They can live 50, 60 years, even more. So if you're getting a turtle as a pet, be sure you're ready for that comment.
And a couple more questions. What are the greatest predators and what do they eat?
Yeah, so they're greatest predators. For baby turtles, like the tiny ones I showed you before, chipmunks and squirrels are surprisingly big predators. If you look at it, a little baby turtle is a lot like an acorn. It's a hard shell with a lot of protein inside, and that's exactly what chipmunks and squirrels are well adapted to eating. But there are a lot of other predators around here, herons and egrets and other birds that hunt the shoreline. Bigger snapping turtles will eat baby turtles of pretty much all species, including their own species, if they run across them. Once a snapping turtle is full grown, they have basically no predators though. And what do they eat? So turtles, all of our turtles are mostly carnivores, but they mostly eat bugs. So they'll eat a lot of aquatic insects, dragonfly larvae, mosquito larvae, that kind of thing. They'll eat small fish. Those that come up onto land really like to eat slugs and worms and snails. So it's mostly invertebrates. As they get bigger, snapping turtles especially will eat small fish, small frogs, ducks when they get really big. Like anything that's made of meat and touches the water is fair game for an adult snapping turtle. Some of them will also take a little bit of plant food. It's not unusual for them to eat plants sometimes. But most of our aquatic turtles, like the ones we have here, eat almost entirely meat.
Are they messy eaters?
Are they messy eaters? Yeah, they're really messy. They don't chew their food. A lot of slugs and snails have a defense where they'll create this foam or this mucus all over their body. So the turtles just get that all over their face when they're eating them, and it makes a big mess. It definitely does.
Can a snapper bite your finger off if you're not careful?
Could a snapper bite your finger off? The big ones could, but not like this. These little ones could never cause that much injury, and a snapping turtle is never going to bite a person unless you actually get up to them and grab them. Snapping turtles in the water are harmless. They'll just avoid you. Even if you should step on them, they'll probably just tolerate it. Snapping turtles on land can sometimes feel threatened by people coming close to them, but unless you're actually grabbing and manhandling a snapping turtle, it will never hurt you, I guarantee. You have to be choosing to mess with a snapping turtle for there to even be any chance of it hurting you.
Okay, that's all the comments. We're good for time.
All right, well, thanks a lot very much for coming to our virtual Zoo to You. I'm sure we've got some more great ones coming down the pike. For now, I'm Matt signing off from the Arnold Arboretum. So long. Have a good day.